In the shadow, yet the light. A wife's long story of love and strength. Part 1. When Love Was New. Meera was 22 when she married Arjun, a young army officer she met through a family friend. She was a literature graduate, soft-spoken but sharp, and he was everything a soldier is meant to be, disciplined, courageous, and charismatic in uniform. They barely had a few months of courtship before their families sealed the alliance. He sent her books with scribbled notes in the margins. She wrote him long letters scented with her perfume. They spoke over landlines late at night, keeping voices low to avoid family ears. Their wedding was small, warm, and filled with traditional songs. Meera wore red, and Arjun's eyes didn't leave her face once through the rituals. She had always imagined marrying for love, and in Arjun she found that love, unexpected, solid, and thrilling. Part 2. A House Without Him. After the wedding, they had just 40 days together before Arjun was posted to the northern border, a region known for conflict and bitter winters. That was Meera's first lesson in what it meant to be a soldier's wife. The army quarters she moved into later were modest, peeling paint, unreliable electricity, and quiet neighbors who were also wives. Days were filled with routine, cooking, waiting for letters, volunteering at the army school, and praying, always praying. She decorated the house, hoping he'd come home to warmth and color. She stitched cushion covers with little elephants on them, because he liked animals. She planted a tulsi pot outside their door and told herself it would thrive like their marriage. But what filled the space most were silences. Some lasted hours, others weeks. Phone calls were rare. News from the front was scarce, and when a convoy would return with one jeep less, every wife held her breath. Part 3. The day. Everything changed. One Tuesday afternoon in January, there was a knock. 2 uniformed men stood outside. The air froze before she opened the door. Their eyes told her everything. Arjun had died in an ambush while rescuing local villagers from crossfire. He didn't call for backup. He simply acted. He was posthumously awarded the Shaurya Chakra for gallantry. Meera, 24 years old and newly widowed, stared into nothing for weeks. People came with food, some came with sympathy, some even came with suggestions about remarriage or moving on. But Meera didn't need any of it. She wasn't angry, she wasn't even broken. She just felt paused, like a chapter that was printed halfway. Part 4. The woman who stayed. Most army wives return to their hometowns after they lose their husbands. Meera didn't. She stayed in the same cantonment, joined the army school as a full-time teacher, and became the unofficial counselor for young army wives, those whose husbands were deployed, missing, or recovering. She told them, "He may not come back, but your life will still go forward, and you owe it to both of you to walk it fully." At night, she wrote journals, poems, letters to Arjun. She never stopped talking to him. Once a year, on their anniversary, she visited his last posting, laying yellow roses on the soil where he once stood guard. Part 5. The Promise. She kept. Many years passed. Meera never remarried, but she never wore widow's white either. She wore vibrant saris. She laughed loudly. She raised a dog Arjun would have loved. She read him the news every morning from the porch, even though the neighbors thought she was talking to herself. When people asked, "Don't you feel alone?" she would smile and say, "No, he just lives differently now." She eventually founded a trust in Arjun's name, the Arjun Initiative, which offered scholarships to children of martyred soldiers. It grew into something national. The president honored her with an award for her service. But she didn't care about the awards. She only cared that somewhere, some child knew their parent didn't die forgotten. Epilogue. The letter in the box. When Meera turned 60, she opened an old wooden box where she had kept every letter Arjun wrote. At the bottom was one unopened envelope. It was dated 4 days before his last mission. In it, he had written, "If something ever happens to me, promise me 2 things. 1. Keep your chai too sweet. 2. Live twice the life we dreamed of, one for you, one for me." She smiled with tears that didn't sting because she had kept that promise every day, in silence, in strength, and in love. This is a wife's story, not just of loving a man, but of honoring his memory by living fully, even in absence. A story not of loss, but of legacy.